SaveWithConrad.com.
My name's Daryl. Came from Massachusetts and I moved to Wisconsin. And there's a lot of people that might be asking, why go with Conrad? Why go with Supreme Lending? And let me tell you something, brother. I think about the credentials, the tag team partner that I'd be working with. First of all, we got the podfather himself, Conrad. How can you go wrong with that? And then also go on to SaveWithEric.com, which, you know, who else could have kicked Vince's ass for 83 consecutive weeks? You can't beat that duo right there. But they did bring a secret weapon, and I didn't realize this because this was not advertised. I worked closely with Larry the Axe Thompson. And let me tell you, with all the stress with moving across the country with a large family that I have, it was reassuring to know that I had the enforcer at my back, handling questions from the other side of sellers, the other side with trying to find the right prices. He took care of all that. All I had to do was keep my eye on the prize and make it there to Wisconsin. They were absolutely fantastic. They checked in on me, especially Francis, very patient with me. I don't go through this process all the time, so I trusted the experts. I was able to call them. They called me if they had questions, and it felt like it was a personal arrangement. There was even a point in which, from the seller side, they wanted something else that wasn't part of the norm. Francis straight up told me, hey, we're loyal to you. We'll do whatever you want to do, and we'll make sure that you guys are taken care of. They came through. I made it to the dream. I'm the champion of my own destiny here. They were able to help pave the way for me and my family. I couldn't be more happy with the results. I went from having less than an acre to now 20 acres worth of land. They made that dream a reality. I'm Daryl, and I'm living in Friendship, Wisconsin, in my dream home, thanks to SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 212, non-equal housing lender. SaveWithConrad.com. Hey, it's Conrad the Mortgage Guy, and you're listening to My World. And of course, we couldn't do it without the Hall of Famer, the greatest professional wrestler of all time, your friend and mine, Double J, Jeff Jarrett. Jeff, how are you, man?
Oh, Conrad Thompson, I hadn't seen you
since yesterday. We have spent the entire weekend together. We are excited to be back together. We've got a lot to talk about, and I mean a lot, but we're doing something kind of cool. We're celebrating the 20-year anniversary of the very first Bound for Glory. And Jeff, just last week here on the program, you sort of laid the groundwork that you feel like the original sort of WrestleMania, if you will, for TNA was Bound for Glory, right?
Yes. And that anniversary, and I don't know, did I see it online? Did we talk about it? Excuse me, the guitar shot on Hogan, that was a kind of a potential setup for a Bound for Glory, but that was the name, that we came up with internally. I came up with it. I hate to say it that way, but I'm like, hey, that needs to be our biggest show of the year, counter programming, like we talked about last week, opposite of Mania as far as seasonal goes. But yes, it was going to be our Super Bowl, if you will. We'll get started here.
Yeah, we're going to watch it along with you guys. We encourage you, if you haven't already, to be sure to check out TNA on YouTube. And TNA also has a fantastic subscription service. I know Jeff and I have both been subscribers for a long time. We are wrestling junkies. We know you'll dig it too. That's where you can watch all of the Bound for Glories through the years. Of course, we are going to be doing a watch along today for Bound for Glory, the very first one. So without further ado, Jeff, can you give us like a countdown? Do you want to give us like a 1, 2, 3 play, or a 3, 2, 1 play? Do you want to do something like that?
I don't know, Mr. Silva, if he can do hand signals, smoke signals.
Just say it with your mouth and words.
And 3, 2, 1.
Play. Here we go. We're watching the original Bound for Glory from 20 years ago. These VOs, who's doing these VOs?
Harry Scott, God rest his soul. He lived here in Nashville, and we had used him. I'm trying to think at this point how long we had used him, but I love Barry. What a great human being, great man. But I loved his voice. Obviously, had the touch of James Earl Jones in his voice, but
yes,
really, really accomplished VO guy. He really, in a lot of ways, the little engine that could of TNA when we first kind of got going and got the production to go up a notch and a little bit more and a little bit more day by day, week by week. Barry was right in there with us. And I can tell you that, you know, his rate was cut in the early days, but it all paid off for him because he had that account for years. And, you know, he did well with it and we did well with it and he loved his emotion. But this was shot in the Parthenon, a real famous building in downtown Nashville, Tennessee. But yeah, very, very good piece of business right here. And it was Bound for Glory, obviously in October, Conrad. If you listen to this, we touch on Sacrifice and Turning Point, all the pay-per-views that had led up to it. We read the in the scripting and the writing of the cold open, little sound bites, and it was the sound bites throughout the year. So we all knew at this time, here's a, you know, it was just a new era in so many ways. Spike Days had some really cool momentum. I know we're going to get into that ratings wise and talent wise, and it was cool. But the cold open, Conrad, you should click on this and watch it at some point when you can hear all the sound. So it was good.
Yeah, I love these opening packages in this era. Who would have been the secret sauce to actually edit together these packages?
So what is the date of this? 05, 06, I think.
Yeah, this is October 23rd, 2005.
So this would be
is this a hottie?
This was a hottie. I'm thinking Kevin Sullivan came to town 05, 06. So, but anyway, yeah, I think at this point, I believe it's David Zahadi, but you know, JB always played a role, myself, others, but just kind of the vision of all this was something that I can't say it wrote itself, but kind of the momentum, because we had all kind of grinded through all this, and then here we go on Spike.
Meltzer would write about this, and he said that this is not the company, or this is not the show the company hoped it would be, probably not even close, but it turned out to be financially the most successful event they ever produced. So we are going to talk about that, but I guess the biggest thing that happened here is we see Samoa Joe coming out. I got quite an entrance.
What do you think about this entrance for Joe?
I like it. It feels special. And I know some of our listeners may not know this. This is what Joe's family did. This was his first foray into the entertainment business, right? Doing these sort of performances.
We're looking at Joe's family members. I can't say all of them, but you know, I wish Joe was sitting right beside me, especially, you know, him coming off his look and this weekend at the event at Wrestle Dream. I'll say this, you know, Joe grew up doing this. And so in a lot of ways, I don't want to say Joe, I won't word this right, but he wasn't the biggest fan of this. It's his family, and he cut his teeth on this. In the Olympics, he actually, as a little bitty boy, marched and did all this, but he just wasn't the biggest fan of it. And man, Conrad, I was the number one fan of it, because I looked at, all right, here's this guy, a Samoan badass, but he's kind of doing the war dance and getting dialed into it. I loved it. I thought it was a slice of his character that just built and built and built. I may be criticized specifically from Joe on this. I thought it really added to the aura of Samoa Joe.
I totally agree. It's a nice touch, and what an opponent. I mean, you're starting this show. I know technically there was a match before this that was really like the pre-show match, but even that was an incredible four-way. Sanjay Dutt, friend of the show, getting a win over Austin Aries, Roderick Strong, and Alex Shelley. They went 12 and a half minutes, and that is that's the pre-show. I mean, all of those guys today, well, almost all of them, have a pretty significant impact on modern wrestling. And here they were 20 years ago. But to start the show with Samoa Joe and Jushin Liger, man, that was one of the reasons that I was such a TNA fan. I don't know that you and I've ever talked about this. I was at this show, Jeff.
Get out of here.
Yeah. I flew down with
you were sitting anywhere remotely or no? Gosh.
I know I was in a bleacher.
Okay.
I wasn't on the floor, but I would say I was 2 or 3 rows up.
Yep.
And I don't think I think I'm with the hard cam instead of against the hard cam. So
Okay.
that corner over there, like,
Bottom right. Bottom right.
there you
So,
go. That's exactly right.
and we had bleachers down. We called that down at the end zone. Brother Keith Mitchell, shout out.
No bad spots. You know, you guys had only been down there for a short amount of time, but if you remember, you did like a little fan fest type thing. Tito, Christopher Daniels, and others were there.
Yep.
So I actually went, and I was excited to go, and I made a whole weekend out of it with my lady friend at the time, and wound up watching Alabama beat Tennessee again that weekend on TV.
We won't talk about that. We'll get into that later. But you know what? I did want to mention that, you know, in this era, I'm and I love it. I'm part of 0 Hour, as you know, the YouTube pre-show. It's on X and Instagram, Facebook, and all that. We had what we called. We didn't at this time. I wasn't a fan of calling it a pre-show because we had action on it, and you know, like a pregame. I looked at from a sporting field that a pre-show is talking heads. So we did the first 30 minutes of the pay-per-view, quote unquote, were free. Is how we kind of advertised that four-way because it did. They tore the house down, and I'd like to say that was kind of, in a lot of ways, I thought this is Sanjay Dutt prime. Later, he had shoulder injuries and a few nagging injuries that those guys would go through. But the match that was on the first 30 minutes tore the house down. And then, of course, these guys, we wanted to kick off the pay-per-view part of it with Liger, and there's Simon and Oki sitting next to Dixie. But yeah, that was the early days of the New Japan relationship that were very thick, and Team 3D and Kurt, and I'm getting off track here, but yeah. So
I'm just saying, I would like to point out, not only do you have Jushin Liger versus Samoa Joe opening the show, but you do have, you know, relationships in Mexico and in Japan with New Japan. It almost sounds like you were ahead of the curve from the companies today, but we'll move on. Hey, the big story coming into this show, though, is I guess just hours before it was supposed to start, it all changed. As the story goes, the day before, Kevin Nash was supposed to face you in the main event, but he was complaining of chest pain. He called 911 and he was rushed to the hospital. As a reminder, Kevin Nash's father died at just 35 years old from a heart attack. Well, Kevin Nash was given an EKG and held overnight for observation. And Meltzer would say, while some automatically thought work, nothing Nash did similar in WCW when he was supposed to do a job for the Giant. But later that night, Terry Taylor was reporting back with Nash being in the hospital. Everyone realized this situation was very real and very serious. The night before, the booking committee was up all night, basically restructuring the show, where the main event would have to feature a change, of course. They didn't know for sure until the morning of that there was no way Nash could have been cleared to wrestle, and that plan B would now have to go into effect. Nash is 46 here, and there's speculation in the newsletters that maybe he's wrestled his last match. Plan B was going to be pretty controversial, they thought. The original plan was for Jarrett to beat Nash when Raven would interfere, turn heel, and cost Nash the match. Plus, special ref Tito Ortiz would also go heel, where he's most natural, as it was widely agreed Dusty Rhodes made a mistake bringing him in as a face. This would lead to a Nash versus Raven program. And with the company being their biggest show in history, to not deliver the advertised main event, there was panic to go overboard in the booking. So they added a gauntlet, which is a Royal Rumble style battle royal, where the winner would get a shot at Jarrett and then put Rhino over for the last minute NWA title win. This has to be sheer panic, right? I mean,
Conrad,
I know at different times it feels like if it wasn't for bad luck, you'd have no luck at all with TNA. It feels like you've got all this momentum, and it's like, wait a minute, not so fast, my friend. What was going on in your mind here?
so I don't even know where to start because I'll say in my podcasting days, it goes without saying, and you've kind of shamed me that I wasn't totally in tune with the newsletters and dirt sheets and whatever it may be. I just never really thought that would be super productive with my time. But as I read that and talked about Tito switching heel, total bullshit. Nash and Raven in a program. Now, Conrad, let's think about that.
Never happened.
It would never even be discussed in a creative room if we were mad at either guy. It's just like, so complete fiction. And you know, that's that kind of stuff. It's like that's probably why I didn't give too much credence to it. But I mean, Conrad, that could not be, that is total fabrication. The question would be, why would Dave want to fabricate that? Obviously, he probably got a little inkling from somebody. That's a whole nother story. But I will say, when we did get the news about Kevin at the Doubletree Orlando, right across the street, you go up on the 17th floor on either tower, north or south. When you get off the elevator, you go left or right. You can go so that they had the big suites up there, and there'd be a double room on one side and a double room on another side. And I'd be in one double room on one side, and Rudy would be in a double room on the other side. And then the real big meeting room, it had 2 couches and a big eating table. So you could get a lot of people in there. When we heard the news earlier, that might have been more than 24. I don't know exactly when, but it was just like, you've got to be kidding me. It was pretty devastating, just the thought process, like, okay, what are we going to come up with to over deliver? Because, it's not just half the main event not going to be there. It's the baby face and just all that kind of stuff. So we went to work and under pressure and trying to figure it out. That there's going to be some hiccups and maybe not the right decisions, but that's what we had to do. And, I knew Kevin, as we said, for this point, many years, and worried about his health, but, he let us know, he wasn't doing great, but he would eventually be okay, but certainly no condition to wrestle. So we put on our thinking caps as Samoa Joe is tapping out Jushin. They had a hell of a 10-12 minute match. Referee Andrew Thomas checking it, but there it is. But anyhow, Conrad,
is it worst case scenario to lose your main event the night before?
Look, it could always be worse, but it was certainly immediately behind the 8 ball. It was tough. We were in a tough, I think everybody was in a tough spot across the board, but we figured it out and trudged on. As we say, the show must go on.
You had about 900 fans here for the show. 800 fans showed up for the Fan Fest. Who do you remember being a big advocate for you guys doing Fan Fests?
Oh, God, of course, the number one. Well, I may be number one. Don West may be number 2 or 1A and 1B. But, I'll say this, the talent and, things from time to time through the years change. I know at WWF, sometimes those early access days, a lot crammed in, but I'll say this, the TNA talent, for the most part, maybe they gave me the answer they thought I wanted to hear, but guys dug in. And, it being a quote unquote park attraction, it was a way to put revenue toward the bottom line that we couldn't on TV tapings for ticket sales, because at this time, now things have changed. At this time, it was against Universal Studios really mandates. They would not let you monetize tickets. They always looked at this as park attraction, and you had to have I think they wanted at least 25% of our audience to be people strictly came through the park. They couldn't stand in the other line, if you will. But yeah, it was and look, if somebody's going to pay for as you know, Conrad, if you're going to pay for a VIP meet and greet or a Fan Fest, you're going to be loud and rowdy. And at these pay-per-views, when we could do that, some of the best crowds in there, and it really adds to the show.
We should mention that match 3 that night after Samoa Joe and Jushin Liger was Simon Diamond and Elix Skipper and David Young taking on Sonny Siaki, Apollo, easy for me to say, and Shark Boy. They went 7 minutes and 7 seconds. Then we saw Monty Brown beat Lance Hoyt in 6 minutes and 32 seconds. I think we're cruising right along here, even through the Team Canada match, which was Eric Young and Bobby Roode and A1 beating Conan, BG James, and Ron Killings. The match you're watching with us right now on myworldpod.com. If you haven't already, you need to go watch us on YouTube. It's a pretty cool experience to watch old TNA with the guy who was at the helm back then, Double J Jeff Jarrett. We're about to watch Petey Williams in an Ultimate X match with Matt Bentley and Chris Sabin. I can't wait for us to talk about that. But before I do, I just want to go ahead and give a shout out and a little love to our friends at Mando. Fall's here, guys. Football season, yard work, maybe some hunting trips, but let's be honest, staying fresh can be a challenge. That's why you need to hear about Mando deodorant. From your pits to, well, everything else, Mando's high performance odor control and sweat control actually lasts all day. Forget those colognes that just mask the stink. Mando blocks odor before it even starts. It's one stick that does two jobs. That's coverage through double overtime games, that weekend project, and even those extra long pre-holiday shifts. You're good. It's not magic, it's science. We're talking clinical strength sweat control. Buddy, I'm talking one swipe and you're good to go. Mando is not your typical deodorant. It will control both sweat and odor for 72 hours. And after 12 hours, your underarm sweat was reduced by 92%. You see, Mando is deodorant that was re-engineered to stop odor before it even starts. It doesn't just mask odor, it prevents it. 100% of study participants experienced all day odor protection. And a lot of the reasons why is because Mando uses only premium ingredients like gentle mandelic acid to keep you fresh and dry. And this is double protection, tackling both odor and sweat. You're going to love Mando. And Mando's new starter pack is perfect for new customers. They'll hook you up with that solid stick deodorant, the cream tube deodorant, that's for everywhere but your underarms. And you get 2 free products of your choice, like mini body wash and deodorant wipes. Plus, you get free shipping. And as a special offer for our listeners, new customers can get 20% off site wide with our exclusive code. Just use the code MyWorld at shopmando.com for 20% off site wide plus free shipping. That's shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Mando's got you covered with deodorant plus sweat control. Say goodbye to sweat stains and hello to long lasting freshness. These guys are starting out in some precarious spots here. Jeff, of all the crazy innovation and all the wild stipulation matches that existed here in TNA, Ultimate X is probably, I don't know, the most far-fetched, the most over the top, the most ridiculous. I mean,
I thought I actually really, you think that? Because I think Elevation X, because you got there, it limits who can and can't do your match. We had some crazy ones. I always tried to think outside the box. Without risk, there is no reward. And sometimes, and rightly so, we laid an egg. But I thought the Ultimate X, Bentley was good. Saban, Petey, AJ, Daniels. I mean, we could go through the list of these guys, and it just, I mean, it really forces guys to get like that high spot right there.
What a spot. Well, I mean, it's unbelievable. I'm just saying it feels like something almost out of American Gladiators, Jeff. It's off the beaten path of traditional wrestling.
Okay. All right. I to this day, I love the concept. Special guys that only a few special guys can really do it. I mean, I'd love to see one of these in AEW.
Can you imagine
the athletes that we have? Oh my God. I mean,
imagine Ricochet in one of these.
Oh,
it's bananas.
Wow. That's cool. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the Saban was kind of a go-to, a mainstay. Our friend Coach Scott Demore out there, these guys had good chemistry. They really, really did.
By the way, we're watching a hugely successful event. You know, depending on who you believe, this did somewhere between 30 and 35,000 buys. But you also had that extra added revenue from the Fan Fest, and let's also keep in mind that this is around the same time that you guys are making the switch to Spike, and it was so well received. And I love this story. Doug Herzog, who runs Spike, sent an internal memo to the company executives touting the ratings for Impact and its potential. And he even used this phrase, Jeff, and it's got to make you proud even to this day. This is from Doug Herzog, the guy who runs Spike, who just lost WWE. And he wrote about TNA and their success. He was so enthusiastic. Who misses WWE now? Isn't that great?
Well, and I wasn't too much of a fan of that. I'm like, hey, Doug, that's keep that internal. But you know what? I will say this, Conrad. I'll never forget the phone call, a lot of them. But when you hear it from the network president, I mean, the guy who ultimately decides I'm going to write these guys a check, is that he called, I don't want to say week 1, but week 2, 3, or whatever it may be. And he said, Jeff, he said, the demo's this, and it's late prime, and I know where you're going with this. I told you from the first meeting, you guys kind of have to prove yourself. And I said, no. He said, the thing that I think I like most about the early numbers that are coming in, yes, they're great demos, but he said every quarter hour being an hour show is growing. you're starting higher and it's getting later off prime at night. And I said, well, Kevin, by design, that's how we hope to write it. He said, Velocity never did that for us. And I said, yeah, Velocity's, a C&D program. And I get that. He said, well, if you look
Tell
at
everybody what Velocity is, because you're not talking about the WWE Velocity, are you?
yeah, that was what, yeah. Isn't that the program? Because that wasn't a UFC program, was it?
Oh, you're right. I was thinking of you still have the UFC shoulder programming.
They were our lead in, which is great.
Yes.
And Ultimate Fighter, and then they had a best of. They had a couple of different things, but and Scott Fishman later, we would often talk in this first year, is that you can just look at it on the minute by minutes. The later it gets off prime, the more television, more televisions are turning off. People just go to bed. People tune out. Either they're nightclubs or they're not watching TV the later it gets at night. And our numbers were increasing on the minute by minutes, as well as obviously the quarters. And Kevin was very in tune with that. I think in the early days, that may be one of the strongest indicators that he used, that these guys are getting an audience that's being dumped to them in a lot of ways by UFC, but the wrestling audience is coming. But most importantly is whatever they're putting on the air, they're digging it.
Let's talk about how it's going so far with TNA on Spike. Week 1 was October 1st in the old Velocity time slot. It does 850,000 viewers. The median age is 35. The median age for Velocity was 41. The strongest demo is males 25 to 34. That's the same demo as the UFC. A week later, on October 8th, more good news. 994,000 viewers. It even beats a replay of the Ultimate Fighter. This is obviously a big deal. You debut with nearly 1 million, and then you're, within spitting distance there a week later, and it's trending up. It's got to be high fives all around, which is why I just feel like when you've got this new momentum, we're finally got our national TV, we've got some momentum. We've got some great strategic partnerships internationally. And now we're running our first fan fest. We're running our version of WrestleMania. And the night before the main event changes. Like, I know sometimes people sort of lose sight of this. So I just want to draw a parallel. Can you imagine if the night before in late March of 85, Roddy Piper says, sorry, Vince, I can't make it to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like, it would be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like everything's built around this. You've got all this momentum, and you've been, TNA at this point has been the little engine that could. And a lot of people were saying they were the little engine that could not. And you have that power of positivity and you're persevering, and it feels like you finally made it. And somebody pulls the rug out from under you the night before.
Wasn't fun, Connie. One thing, as I'm watching this back, obviously it's been years and years and years to really watch a full show here like we're going to, which would be cool. But have you noticed that the pit, I call it, that's what we called it, around ringside, those guys opposite hard camera, 3 or 4 rows, but no chairs are there. And so people that came in, they wanted to stand there, not sit there. And so to me, it add another layer of energy to the show when you have basically fans standing they're right on top of you. So good stuff.
We're watching a really fun Ultimate X match. We hope you're watching along with us at myworldpod.com. We actually have the footage thanks to our friends over at TNA, and they've got a fantastic streaming service that we'll make sure we tell you all about in the episode description today. But Chris Sabin, we know, is with WWE, running around with Alex Shelley as one half of the Motor City Machine Guns, and Petey Williams, one of their more invaluable agents behind the scenes. Matt Bentley feels like the one that kind of got away. Do you know what he's doing in real life these days?
I have no idea. Matt was a guy who was in the very first Ultimate X match, had a good look, obviously had the Shawn Michaels kind of swagger, if you will. But and we've covered this. He made a decision to kind of go back home, and that's really, as far as the wrestling industry that I'm aware of, that he slid on out of the business. It happens. We both know that it happens from time to time, and different talent that at one point were maybe can't miss, and then for one reason or another, it just didn't work out.
He is one of those where I can't help but think, we know what the other guys are doing. If he'd have stuck around, what would he be doing in wrestling today?
Yeah. For sure. Who knows? I don't know.
Well, who knows when Alabama will get a chance to brag about beating Tennessee? Oh, well, probably the third week in October, like every freaking year. It happened again, Jeff, but you were a gracious loser. And I can't believe this is even a real sentence, but I do have some breaking news coming in here. Jeff Jarrett, fresh off of the Tennessee loss, actually before the final whistle was there, he's already paid his bet. And he picked up the tab at a Roost Chris. Ladies and gentlemen, I know what you're thinking. That can't be real, but yes, Jeff Jarrett paying for the seafood tower. He paid for the filet. He paid for the grilled shrimp. It was fantastic. Dave Green, David Crockett, Conrad Thompson, and Jeff Jarrett all at a Roost Chris. The bill comes out, and he knew he was going to get these licks. So he said, I'll take the check. Jeff, bravo. Roost Chris, man. We'll make this a tradition. Every year when Alabama beats Tennessee, you can buy me another steak. I love it.
Oh my God, Conrad. I hadn't been right since Saturday night paying that. I mean, the fraud alerts went off on my credit cards. My accountant called me. He doesn't work on Sundays. He called Sunday. I believe word got around. My doctor buddy called me and said, hey, I've had other people call me. Are you okay? I don't know. I don't know what got into me, Conrad. Let's get back to this. I'm glad that we can't go to a 3-shot. Look at the guys, the damn X-Vel. I'm glad we can't go to a 3-shot because I'd love to see the look on Silva's face when you said, yep, you picked up the tab.
Hey, so the X fell, and now we're in the middle of it, rehanging it. Is this the business as usual for AEW? How do you improvise something like this?
Well, you throw some F-bombs around backstage. Like, how can this happen? And there's, again, we did so many things trial by error and might not have tested this like we should have. You got to talk to the referee, put him in the earpiece and say, hey guys, talent, you got to keep the action going and get up there, because we always there was one show, and I don't know what it was, that we had something hanging and we hung it too tight where the talent couldn't yank it loose. So it's I guess you could say it's the balance of making sure the X is hung right and sturdy enough, but not too sturdy where the talent can't yank it off or unhook it. So they got it back up, and on with the show we go. And it is what it is. But the talent, pro's pro. And at this time, Bob Ryder was doing the go position. I remember, I can't say it's specifically this match, but I know one time at one point, I had a few choice words for the production guys. Boom, it's over. And that's about 4 to 6 minutes too early.
Yeah, I wanted to mention.
Did we restart this?
Yes. So as Saban and Bentley fought over the X, they both fell down. The X came loose again, and Williams was underneath it and caught it. That wasn't the planned finish. Saban and Bentley both threw obvious fits in front of the people, with Bentley doing a total Shawn Michaels about it. Even Williams was mad, which was stupid because he won. He could be mad when he got backstage because all the best stuff was yet to come, but he won a title shot. And when you're in front of the people, you shouldn't be selling that it's bad that you won. But yeah, they have all got to be frustrated with this because they thought, hey, this is our chance on, the TNA equivalent of WrestleMania, and
got robbed.
Yes.
Yep. It was what it was. I hated it for the guys. Everybody hated it for the guys because they were building to their big monumental spots that they obviously had worked on and thought through and everything that goes with it. So the show must go on. And here we are on our B-roll on how we got to this story of the title switch.
Border City Wrestling here. This is Scott D'Amore's promotion, was it not?
Yes. This was, we went during that period that we went off of Fox Sports. And so we had basically went off Fox Sports, I believe, at the end of May. So we had June, July, August, and September of, man, we've talked about it multiple times on here on kind of maintaining things that you got to keep content compelling, but you can't give away your stuff. And knowing that we were going on Spike, and then it was time to kind of come on the air with the basically the players in place to build heat and kind of build, if you will, we looked at it as when we came on Spike, it was, I can't say a new book, but it was definitely a definitive new chapter in TNA. And so we had to, we all thought, let's start the storytelling, you know, with heat on the heels and everything that went with that, and get ready to, you know, basically it was, like I said, you know, maybe a new chapter in TNA, and had to get the players in place.
We just saw some clips of a pretty memorable package. You're seeing it here. This is the funeral of 3D. Where did you guys film that? What can you tell us about the Dudley Boys funeral segment that you filmed there?
In Orlando, and ironically, WWE has used this over the last couple of years. I was told, hey, you're going to recognize what you see on TV tonight, or whatever it was. But in Orlando, that was one of the just everything clicked when we got into that, and shot that. Eric Young almost was the breakout scene stealer in so many ways. It was so entertaining, but told a story as well. And this is where, you know, I think a lot of times that TNA's looked at as, well, the Knockouts division really got the women's wrestling up and running, and the X division was really cool. I think a lot of times our tag division from time to time got overlooked. But I thought this was an era of America's Most Wanted, the Naturals, Team 3D, Team Canada, just those 4 teams right there. And there were more. I mean, they put on some unbelievable matches. And when we came on the air for Spike, Gail, you know, was our quote unquote valet, if you will. Planet Jarrett is what we term this kind of iteration of it. But myself and AMW together, folks in the Impact Zone, as we say, we had some heat with those boys.
I love watching this 2005 era of TNA. As I mentioned, I was actually at this show. I was a big fan of what you guys were doing, and I was pulling for something different and that's what we're about to get here. Really, with some TNA originals. Chris Harris and James Storm are about to defend their NWA tag team titles over Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens. We called them the Naturals. And if you want to feel like your jeans are just natural, can I recommend the Perfect Jean? I don't know if you saw Double J on AEW over the weekend, but he was sporting the Perfect Jean. You can count on it every time you see them. They're the most comfortable jeans that Jeff owns, and they'll be the most comfortable that you own too. The Perfect Jean has really redefined what jeans can be. No more crushed nuts or saggy diaper butts, just pure, soft, stretchy perfection. Life's too short for denim that fights you every step of the way. These jeans move with you, whether you're chasing kids or tackling chores or just chilling like a boss. Over 400,000 old, young, big, and small men agree. And in fact, over 30,000 have given the Perfect Jean 5 stars, because you should never have to sacrifice comfort for style. Imagine for a minute denim that's so stretchy it's yoga ready, but sharp enough to turn heads and comfy enough you'll forget you're even wearing them. That is, until someone compliments you. You can do everything in the Perfect Jean. You could go rescue stray cats like a denim superhero. You could man spread during game night. You could break some hearts and even pull some muscles on the dance floor. The Perfect Jean has something for everybody too. What about 6 different fits? A size range from 26 to 50-inch waist, and even links up to 38. You've got like more than 5,000 ways to find your perfect match. Whether you're thick or skinny or short and tall, no matter where you fall, the Perfect Jean has you covered, because these are jeans that are made for real bodies, not mannequins. They've got lots of other cool stuff too. They can hook you up with your shorts and the buttery soft tees. And they've even got den khakis that are real stretchy. Like, I'm a big believer in this product. I know you will be too. If you want to look good, but you want to be comfortable, look no further than the Perfect Jean. And right now, for a limited time, our listeners can get 15% off their first order plus free shipping at theperfectjean.nyc. Or just Google the Perfect Jean and use the code Jarrett15 for 15% off. That's 15% off for new customers at theperfectjean.nyc with the promo code Jarrett15. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. F your khakis and get the perfect gene. Man, I absolutely love watching America's Most Wanted. I think the Naturals are criminally underrated. When you think about the foundational sort of building blocks from back in the day with TNA as tag teams, these are probably your first two established tag teams, and then you build from there, right?
Yeah, yeah. Man, I'd have to dig into Asylum days, but the New Church, I feel like was a pretty good team. Team Canada was in there early as well, but certainly uh, AMW. Well, yeah, these four, and look, they're all well. Chris is Cincinnati, but James, Andy, Chase, they were all living in or around Nashville, and all they just know what they're doing. All four of them. And you know, Chase and Andy, they'll probably tell you at times were their own worst enemies. In another universe, those guys could be being seen, you know, as we say, Wednesdays and Fridays or Mondays, whatever it may be. They were really, really good. Yeah, it didn't, again, kind of like Matt Bentley. Whatever reason, things didn't work out long term for them. During this era, I think they were one of the best teams in the world.
The tunnel entrance is obviously something that's going to become synonymous with TNA. And we even see tunnels being used on independents like 1FW, QT Marshall's independent in Georgia, and even AEW has a heel tunnel and a babyface tunnel. I like the tunnel, and I'm curious, do you remember anybody using the tunnel prior to TNA? I know there were a handful of WWE, like WrestleMania 13 comes to mind, but outside of that, as far as it being a regular thing, is that like a TNA idea, do you think?
You know, that's the first time, as you said, kind of WrestleMania 13. Anyway, so I remember Greg Horn, our set designer. Man, we had some fun back in those days. But when we sat down to figure things out for Orlando and the space and how do you want to do this and think things through, and I looked at him and I said, Greg, we're about to get into a park crowd. And that didn't really register. I said, there's going to be some folks that this is just new talent. And even if they don't, so I said, I'd really like two separate entrances as far away as possible. He just kind of looked at me and he said, okay, we're going to have two go positions. And I said, well, that's what radios are for. We'll figure that out, but we'll have one go position, but we'll have two stage managers. He said, okay. So as we split it up, and he said, can you kind of give me your mindset? And I said, I'd really like to have the ability to do an in-ring and have a talent in the ring and then someone on one ramp and someone on another ramp to kind of spread it up. But when they're coming to battle, it's like two gladiators both coming down and meeting in the middle. And look, for a park crowd, let's make it real easy as we precondition the crowd. Hey, folks, coming out of this tunnel over here, make sure you boo them. Coming out of this tunnel over here, make sure you cheer them. To make it just a line right down the middle, to make it easier for non-wrestling fans to understand and get into it and get engaged in it. And look, it eat up a lot of square footage, but I really thought it gave a good vibe. I thought that once we got the jib camera, and it was a little difficult, again, going back to square footage, you could really do the right shot to show, we'll call it both ramps. You can't really show both tunnels, but it gave it a real good feel. That studio, Soundstage 21, I wish it was about a third bigger than it is, because, man, you could have done even more. But yeah, I thought that we maximized every square inch of this studio, and we ebbed and flowed on it through the years. But yeah, so I like the tunnels. I like the ramps. I like the vibe of it and all. But yeah, I didn't even think about what your comment was. But yes, I'm a tunnel guy, Conrad.
Go watch this footage with us. We're watching Bound for Glory 2005 at myworldpod.com. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell while you're there. And if you just can't get enough of the old school TNA, hey man, do what I did. Go to watch.tnawrestling.com/sign up. We'll have the link in the description as well. But you'll get all the live specials, Impact every Thursday, Explosion on Fridays. You get the full content library and all that. Plus, you can even do an annual. So you can do it for just $9.99 a month, or you can do an annual and you even get some bonus stuff, which is pretty cool, including lots of live pay-per-views as well. Anyway, go check it out. TNAwrestling.com/sign up. That's TNAwrestling.com, where you can watch along with us and watch all the great stuff at TNA Plus. That's kind of the name of the game, don't you think? It feels like everybody is moving towards streaming on some level. You know, AEW's got their stuff now with HBO Max, and we know WWE's in a few different streaming services, whether it's Netflix or Peacock or what have you. It's sort of the way of the world. It's interesting. 20 years ago, you guys were flying high to finally be on cable television, and now it feels like the business is evolving again. Once upon a time, it was just local TV, and then it was syndicated, and then it was cable, and it's streaming. Like that's probably the next logical next step, right?
Oh yeah, and you know what? I don't know how many times me and you this subject has come up, but in a lot of ways, we hit the holy grail, and we just talked about those numbers coming on, and we went from Saturday night successful ratings to Thursday night off prime successful ratings, and 1 hour of prime, 2 hours of prime, just kind of that growth. But us having to contend with those monthly pay-per-views, what if we wouldn't have been in that era where, from a business structure, and look, we made the decision, but we were a lot of times following the industry standard, should we have done maybe 4 a year? Well, it didn't cost us that much more money. So we actually were profitable on these pay-per-views, but could our ratings have gone higher because we were, who was our master? Were we trying to get the highest ratings or the highest buy rate? Well, can't really serve two masters. But now as the industry goes, everything is going towards streaming. And so just I'm trying to lead in and agree with your point. Now it's all streaming for the most part. You can just kind of look at everything going that way. And Jesus, Conrad, we were sitting at the table the other night. It's a different era as the manager of the steakhouse comes by, and four of us at dinner, and I've got an iPad and a phone, and you've got a phone, and Dave's got a phone, and we're all watching some version of ball games, all streaming. It's a different era, man, completely.
My favorite thing about that, since we're just telling funny stories about dinner the other night, we managed to sit in the bar area where we knew we could get a TV going to watch Alabama, Tennessee. And you and I both have the AEW pay-per-view stream on our phones. Our buddy Dave is a big Mizzou guy, so he's watching Mizzou and Auburn. But as the guy brings over our food, he's putting everything down, and he's excited because he sees that you're watching wrestling, and he goes, "Oh man, I've been a huge wrestling fan my whole life. I just love wrestling. You like wrestling?" And you go, "Yep." And he goes, "Man, I just love watching this stuff." And I go, "Who are your favorites?" He goes, "Man, I like the guy with the sock." He had the sock. And I was like, "Mick Foley?" He goes, "Yeah." And somebody else. And in my head, I'm thinking, he has no idea that he just dropped food off to David Crockett and Jeff Jarrett. And nobody said anything and made a spectacle, but it was just funny because that guy, man, I'm such a big wrestling fan
Of 90s.
Yes. I only watched in the 90s. I'm a big 90s wrestling fan, and I'm thinking, not that big.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Hey, let me ask you about Gail Kim. She's out here as the second.
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off. We're thinking the same thing. Gail's integration into this. Anyway, go ahead. What were you going to ask?
She started with WWE in 02. She finishes up in 04. She's here with you guys in 05, but as a valet. Now, she was wrestling in WWE, and she is eventually going to wrestle for you guys. Was that just a function of you had to shore up more of a women's division for her?
Yeah, and she will tell you, we ought to have her one time, because she will tell you at every TV, can I wrestle? Can I get to wrestle? When are you bringing in more girls? And it was a function of, and man, I can just remember it like yesterday, going into DVD or toys or any kind of pitch meeting that, hey, we have 4 distinct divisions: tags, heavyweights, X division, and women's, call it, just I'd go through all that kind of stuff. But at this point, we weren't quite there yet, because I said, Gail, I don't want to come on the air with the division of 4 ladies. Let's take our time and really figure out. Later, obviously, it came to fruition, and we had 8, 10, 12. And I think when we had, I can't say that magical number, but around 12 to 14 knockouts, I thought it was our best business because you could still focus on almost all of them and ebbs and flows who's in main event. But at this point, I thought Gail was a really great addition to the package of AMW. It really cranked up their heat in a lot of ways. And with her athleticism and hurricanranas off the top and different high spots, people knew, okay, we're dealing with a hell of an athlete right here. It really added to the package.
I know that she's probably content with her career and all that she's done in front of the camera and behind the camera. But don't you imagine if she would have come around, say 10 years later, if she was making her debut in say 2015, how big of I mean, obviously she's a superstar and a bona fide Hall of Famer as is. She's a trailblazer and an innovator and all that stuff. But I can't help but think how big a star Gail Kim would be if she'd have been working these last 10 years when women's wrestling really sort of leveled up.
Yeah. I mean, it's timing. I mean, we all, if you hang around the business long enough and are successful, you can look back on different spots of your career and say, man, I was too late. I was too early. Things could have been different here, all that kind of stuff. But in a lot of ways, and look, I mean, the record speaks for itself. Gail Kim and Austin Kong, to me, were the original two main event. I'm not talking about territory days. I'm talking about modern day women's wrestling. They really, in a lot of ways, were the groundbreakers that main evented a cable network television show, and in so many ways. So, in a lot of ways, I think Gail can look back on her career and say, "We were the first."
We're watching another fantastic video package here. This one to build for Monsters Ball, which I feel like was a big part of TNA in 2005. We're still in the shadows of ECW, and we've got an ECW original in this match, Sabu. His matches were real life car crashes. And who better to pair him with than another ECW original, Rhino, and Abyss, who, as I don't know, he's probably deserving of being on the Mount Rushmore of TNA as far as in-ring performers and just what his contributions were. And clearly one of the biggest stars in the business, Jeff Hardy. This is the 8th match on the show. They're going to get 11 minutes and 47 seconds. And Meltzer, he normally does not like this sort of stuff, but he called this a show stealer. So go out of your way to see it. It's 4 stars. It's unbelievable. There's going to be a pile driver off the middle rope. I mean, they're going to do all kinds of crazy stuff here. And I know that there's a lot of people who deserve a lot of credit. I mean, Sabu is a daredevil. Jeff Hardy knows no limits. I mean, I'm sure you had to rein him in sometimes. Abyss, my gosh, it feels like every show he was turning the knob a little louder. This is one of the things I think as a wrestling fan 20 years ago made TNA so great, matches like this.
And when you look at, I just kind of referenced the knockouts, when in their prime, there were 10 to 12 females that all had kind of a distinct character. Yes, the beautiful people were a package, but there were 12 different type characters. A lot of times we'll call it in a X Division match, they're all the same. Or like this, we'll call it a hardcore type brawl, Monsters Ball. They're all 4. Well, you really had 4 guys with 4, really distinct personalities. Sabu and Abyss, both in their own ways, were just reckless abandon. And then you look at Hardy, that enigma that you knew you were going to see a daredevil spot. It's just when it's coming. And then, of course, you got Rhino that had that flavor, if you will, that he'll run through a brick wall and he's going to do some brute force strength. Anyway, I thought the magic of the match was the 4 guys' chemistry. It's not always the easiest to really put that together. But man, these guys, off the charts. I mean, off the charts. And look, I know we sing his praises on here, other than him being a shitty fantasy football player and wanting to marry Joe Burrow and his haircut. Abyss's ability to really weave a story within all the craziness, he is one of a kind, super talented in that.
Well, I do want to ask kind of a silly question. One of the things that you guys were pushing here, which back then I thought that's kind of weird, but I appreciate that we're trying to tell some stories. We're going to say that the participants in this match have been kept in the dark and left without food or water for 12 hours. Never mind the fact that Rhino has already appeared on the show 2 hours prior to this, but still, no food, no water for 12 hours. Whose idea is that? Is that a Dutch Mantel thing?
It feels like an Abyss Dutch Mantel thing. I don't think I'm going to be completely misguided in that. And a lot of times Mike and Don we'd have the production meeting, and then producers, agents, production folks, Keith Mitchell and his team, we all kind of go our separate ways. And a lot of times that production room would empty out quickly, and then Mike and Don would stay in there, and the professor would go through his notes and think things through, and maybe a little research here and there. And anyway, kind of put all the pieces of the puzzle together. It kind of feels like a Dutch Abyss, throw it out there. And I don't know, I'd have to listen to commentary. Is that a Don West hype sell? I don't know that Tenay went along with it. I mean, it's those type things never really got around my crawl in that, oh man, why would you say that? It's just like, hey man, we're somewhat trying to tell a little bit of a movie here. Don't take too much.
Don't overthink this.
Yeah. But I get it. I get the criticism as well.
It's not lost on me that Sabu has never really been given a proper national platform. He was on syndicated ECW TV. He had a couple of one-offs on Nitro and that sort of thing. And he is going to have, a cup of coffee with a couple of different appearances in WWE. I mean, this is 2005, so we're just a few months removed from One Night Stand. But did he view TNA or did you view TNA as a real opportunity to, I don't know, give him a chance to introduce himself and what he could do to a new audience? I mean, he's not a greenhorn. He's well established, lots of miles on him, beat up. But at the same time, he never really got, I'm sure amongst the hardcores, he got the credit, but on a national scale and certainly financially, I don't think he ever really got his just desserts. What about this era though? Did you view this as his chance? Did he view it as his chance, or was it just another booking to him?
Obviously I can't answer for him. Obviously it would be in his mind. And I don't want to say this is prime Sabu because of the Japan stuff, the ECW stuff. But as far as in presentation to the biggest audience on a sustained, and he was, I'll call him a TNA regular, but you got to remember, characters like Sabu don't need to go out and work an enhancement match. They don't need to be thrown in a useless 6-man tag or a tag, or, he's not going to be involved in run-ins and for saving heels or baby faces. He is an island unto himself. And so that was always a challenge, but we really called programmed, and Detroit guy, and, Rhino's a Detroit guy, DeMore, all intents and purposes, right across the border, Detroit guy. So we understood, I thought, as a company, Dutch loved him, and Dutch said, man, if we don't wear him out, we can keep him special and really do something with him. So Dutch was a big fan of less is more, but let's kind of use him. I don't want to say every month, but maybe every other month, but just not wear it out. But yeah, I think in a lot of ways, Sabu, I'll certainly stand on, he did some of his best sustained work in his entire career and was involved in meaningful stories, I thought, that had progression. It's just, again, he's a unique performer. What made him really good and unique doesn't always translate to episodic television weekly.
They're off to a hot start. They're already brawling all over the place. Hey, I don't know if you saw this, Jeff, but did you see some of the shocked faces in the crowd during that Alabama-Tennessee game on Saturday? Did you see that?
Hey, Conrad, all kidding aside, we were watching Bound for Glory.
No, I just wanted you to see the reaction because this shot,
to my knowledge, that's over 48 hours old. When people hear this, it'll be like 72. The rankings are already at. We're still in the top 20. I don't think you want to fill this podcast with quote unquote old news, like silliness. This is a wrestling podcast. It's not a football. You know what I mean? I paid my tab Saturday night. Mr. Crockett.
Hang on. If we could show that reaction, because we do have that photo. The reaction right here is not based on the pick six. It's based on the fact that Jeff Jarrett paid the fucking tab at Roost Chris. Like, we were all shocked bigger than shit, Jeff.
Silva, you son of a bitch. Enough. Oh my gosh. That's good. Okay. All right. We're laughing during Rhino and Saturday. Conrad, what a show Saturday night was, huh?
Dude, an unbelievable show. I mean, real talk. How cool was it to see Luthez's widow at an AEW show, dude?
During the man, what a unique. I don't think we even talked about the other night. I was obviously doing 0 Hour, which is on YouTube, X, and all that, but they were doing Collision Tailgate at the same time.
I loved it.
So, I did too. I mean, it has a uniqueness, and me, Renee, and RJ, and we had guests up there, but the energy coming from the building, it felt really special, like a high energy, and folks were about to see something special in Wrestling Dream, and we did. I mean, boy, did we. But a lot of high energy. But when I saw Miss Thez on screen, and you know where her and Lou met, Conrad?
I think in Nashville, Tennessee.
They sure did. That's where the love bug struck Charlie. But no, I think just very cool that she still wants to come. You know what I mean? Yeah. I just think I think it's just a really a cool deal that, look, the wrestling bug gets us all some way or another. We were talking in the car with Crockett. It was Top Guy weekend and so fun to have him around. And you can tell coming out of David's voice, it wasn't lost on me that he will flat out say he enjoys being around and enjoys coming. I've lived kind of the other side of that my dad, he loved to talk wrestling, but there were times, TNA left a bad taste in his mouth and some of this, some of that. And he would say, I'm done with the wrestling business. But then right from that, I mean, he would go, kind of, I don't know, tell you, what was the look on his face at Ric Flair's last match?
It was unbelievable. I was so
excited to see that. That's one of the memories I got to do. My father with Jerry Lawler, I'll call it his last appearance within a wrestling show.
Yes.
Those kind of memories. And so when I saw Miss Thez there, I just think it's cool that she, came out, full house, all kinds of wrestling going on, and she's right there, enjoying every step of the way. I think it's hats off to Charlie.
Did you see there was some, I don't know, half-ass controversy? People were like, wait, how old was he and how old was she? She was 26. He was 56. That's not illegal.
Wait,
what are we
talking about? Okay. I don't know. So on social media, the haters were out even on that. How long's Lou been passed away?
A long time. But the point is, he was 30 years older than her, and everybody got shook up about it. But 26 and 56, like, have you heard of Bill Belichick? Let's everybody calm down.
But as we say in recovery, in the whole world, and it's one of the blessings I've learned, stay on your side of the street. It don't have a damn thing to do with folks, but hey, I get it. They can say what they want, but my gosh, especially the man has passed away and we're going to criticize him and his wife. They lived, how many years were they married? Years, right? They met.
Dude, it's such a silly conversation. What are we even talking about? But I felt the same way about people who were upset about perceived violence in the Darby Allin John Moxley match. Like, allegedly there was some sort of commission issue because I guess you can't bleed in Missouri and all kinds of other stuff. I don't know.
Yep.
So there's lots of different stuff, and they had to get creative, I guess. And I guess they felt like, or some folks spoke up online and said, oh, they shouldn't be doing this. And I'm like, guys, what are we talking about? Like, what if the kids are watching? Well, do we want the kids watching chair shots or putting each other through tables or just regular old pile drivers? Or, I mean, there's so much. It's like, where do you draw the line? Let's get off of our damn soapboxes and watch some wrestling and just say, hey, it ain't for me. I don't know. What are we talking about?
Oh, Conrad, and I've through the years, I think I've shared this story, but there was a gentleman at church during the Attitude Era that was very vocal to me about what type of role model I was
Mm,
to my kids. Uh, that was BS days. You can imagine, and it just always would blow my mind. And I have now where I'm at today. It's the reason I think in all of us, I truly think this, and all of us, it's one of the reasons we're so attracted to professional wrestling because Tom Cruise or Dustin Hoffman or whoever you want to say your movie star, if he plays a degenerate whatever in one of his movies, you don't see him out at a steakhouse and say, "Hey, Tom, I saw you in that role over there, pal." And man, oh man, I'm just not, you're just a bad role model. Of
it's
course.
silly.
Yeah. And then the same with Charles Barkley. I
Hey,
love,
hey, speaking of role models, look at Jeff Hardy here. He's got Abyss
oh,
on the floor on a table, and Hardy has climbed to the top of the staging. He used a ladder to get up there, and oh my, what do you think the height was there, Jeff?
hey, is there any way to back that up, Silva? Because I want you to hear Don West, because I can remember being in post production, hearing this over and over and over. But listen to Don's call. It's one of the calls we should hear.
All right, so here we are. We're going to watch this replay, and you said this was one of Don West's most legendary calls. Let's turn up the volume and take a listen here, Silva.
This is crazy. Oh my God. This is going to the top.
People were rocking Conrad. All right, no way out here.
Mitchell says, no. Mitchell says, no. Hardy. My God, he's going to be. He's up even higher. This is absolute. Oh my gosh. That was freaking insane. That was insane. You want to see freaking insane? You just saw it in slow motion. My God.
You got to go check it out, myworldpod.com. And as a reminder, this is all brought to you by TNA Plus. Go subscribe at TNAWrestling.com. Jeff, what a VO, man.
Yeah, and it's one of those things. Obviously, we use that in sizzle reels and in clips. And as we noticed, Rhino and Sabu, they laid out as well when that went down. But you know what? That is what the industry really is about. It's not about, so to speak, matches and 1, 2, 3s, but it's about those memories and moments. And if you want to define why Jeff Hardy is the charismatic enigma, is that the anticipation and the build and his high flying, death defying moves are always thought through in a way that he's sharp. He knows when to lay him in, really lay the spot in. And look, Don and Mike, just over the top, and it's freaking insane. And we use that, but it's really good stuff. It was certainly very memorable, even 4, 5, 6, 7 years later. We use that spot.
Jeff, we see Morphoflex as the big sponsor ringside. This was an era where you were trying some new sponsors and getting some interesting branding out there on the ring skirts. Not a lot of people had done that at that point. Who was responsible for sales like that back then?
Trying to think who internally, where we were at, but that was when, the early days. I mean, not that we never quit looking, but we were looking for dollars, for sponsorship dollars. Now it's common thing. Wrestling's not the easiest to sell, but they knew we had a demo, that mail, and that's how their product lined up. And they were all about us and wrote us a nice check. And I don't think their product ended up, being super successful, but we certainly did everything we could.
Oh my gosh, just dropping Sabu's stomach first on a table. You don't see that very often. I don't know why, but that worked for me. What a visual. It was almost cartoon like, hey, get out of here.
And I don't want to keep doing it, but the crowd, these guys built it and built it and built it. This is why and I'll say
Here's the pop for the thumbtacks.
even a Dave Meltzer, and I'm saying that, a guy who doesn't like this kind of content, it was just built so well. And again, I think the secret sauce is 4 distinct guys that really knew how to play to their strengths, and they did. You know, Rhino goring Abyss through the table, or whoever that was earlier. Hardy doing his death-defying thing. Abyss getting violence. Sabu being indestructible and going through tables face first. It just all clicked. So really, as Conrad would say, go out of your way to see this one.
It really is special. And as we're watching this, of course, let's take a listen to this.
No, not from the middle row. Oh, man. Oh, my God. My God, you can break a man's neck like that. Pin him. 1, 2. Oh, Sabu. Did he get it? Did he pin him? Did he pin him? Yes, he got it. The winner of the Monsters Ball, Rhino.
I got to tell you, Jeff, I like when, it's a pile driver off the second rope. And even then, Sabu's trying to break up the pin. We know it's the finish, but it adds a layer of realism that he tried to break up the finish and he wasn't successful, because we see it work so many times. Every now and again, it needs to not work, right?
Yeah, and for sure. And one of the things is, I don't think anybody called that match Hardy's going to take the fall.
No one would have predicted that.
No, and that was, again, the beauty of Hardy. I don't want to say like a drum, but you can beat Jeff 15 different ways, and he just gets stronger because there's a little bit more sympathy and a little bit more sympathy on him.
Let's listen to these replays.
That's just unbelievable, and you can see the beating that these guys took. And look at this. There's the Rhino driver. And there you see it. Rhino gets the pin, and Rhino wins. Monsters Ball. Wait a minute. Could this be it? Could this be the decision from the championship committee? Guys, I think this could be. Shane Douglas is in position. Championship committee member Larry Zbyszko's there, and NWA championship Jarrett. Take it, Shane.
Ooh, the scuttlebutt in the dressing room legend is that you finally have come to a conclusion, made a decision as to who the opponent for Jeff Jarrett in the main event will be tonight. I'm dying to know, legend. Who is it?
Everybody's dying to know, Shane. There's no time for politics here. I've got everybody on my back that wants a shot, and to make it fair to everybody, this is what we're going to do. We are going to have a 10-man over-the-top gauntlet match. The man who wins that match is going to get a shot at Jeff Jarrett at the heavyweight championship of the world. That's
Wait a second, Jeff. No disrespect intended, Jeff, but let me get the franchise with this straight. You're telling me that you're going to take 10 men who've already competed at Bound for Glory, put them in a ring in a 10-man over-the-top rope gauntlet, and decide who the champion's opponent will be? Come on, is that fair to Jeff? He's entitled to certain things as a champion. He's entitled to know his opponent. He's entitled to have a game plan.
Larry Zbyszko, I got to ask you one question. Is this your idea, or is it TNA management's idea? I'll tell you, no, you shut up and listen to me, Larry, because this reeks, this stinks, this smells of a screw job by TNA management. And you know why? Because I've got all the power around here. And you know how I have all the power around here? This belt. Zbyszko, I've been screwed for the last time. I want to know one thing, who I've got to prepare for. Tell me who the 10 guys going into the gauntlet are. It's not time to go into the list, but talk about fairness. It's not fair for the other 10 guys either. They have no game plan. They haven't had time to prepare for this. They've already wrestled before, Jeff, so I don't want to be sucked into this. Look it, Destiny dealt the hand we're all playing tonight. Destiny can solve the problem. So good luck, champ. Larry, don't you walk away from me. Larry Zbyszko, we got a deal. Larry Zbyszko, this is a bunch of crap.
Jeff, watching it back 20 years later, what would you do differently, if anything?
Oh boy, you put me on the spot. One thing I was going to think before I lose my train of thought is that when I saw Larry with the Morphoplex shirt, Zbyszko brought that sponsorship to the table.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he's the one who brought it to the table. What would I do different? As far as just that specific promo?
About you lost your main event the night before your WrestleMania, and now you're going to do in the middle of the show, we're going to explain what the new main event is. And that promo, you've got Shane Douglas, a former wrestler, trying to talk to Larry Zbyszko, a former wrestler, and make heads or tails of it. And then here you come in as the champ. Would you have, with the benefit of hindsight, all these years later, would you have done anything differently, or is that pretty much what you would do again?
And you know what? This will sound silly. My unselfishness, if you will. I didn't want to screw up the Monsters Ball. They all had that. The program told that. Somehow, some way, if the championship committee could have said, we're giving Rhino the shot, or started in the pre-show and done the the gauntlet in the pre-show, just clean it up. I always sometimes overthought and tried to please too many folks throughout. Probably clean it up and just get to it much quicker. Rhino is the challenger. There's 1,000 different ways to get to that. But if I'm playing armchair quarterback 20 years later, probably something along those lines.
Here we go. Something else really, really special for the X Division title. AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels. It's an Iron Man match. They're going to go just under 30 minutes. It'll be 29:58 because somewhere, Dave Meltzer had a stopwatch. But it's a 30-minute Iron Man match with two of the absolute best. And the readers of the Wrestling Observer thought far and away this was the best match on the show. The best match poll had 213 votes for AJ and Christopher Daniels. The Monsters Ball match we just saw got 71 votes. Overall, 80% of the folks who watched this show felt it was a thumbs up show. Only 5% gave it a thumbs down, 14% thumbs in the middle. So overwhelmingly positive. I gotta say, I probably like this just as well as I would have Kevin Nash in the main event, because now we don't know who it's going to be. And I don't know, the intrigue still adds something, right?
So you're saying earlier on that vote, so we were critically acclaimed, did a good show from maybe not the masses, but critically acclaimed, Conrad. I'm kidding. Jesus, I lost my train of thought. We were talking about, I was going to mention this earlier when we talked about AMW and the Naturals, and like, how many tag teams does it take to have a really good tag team division? The show Saturday night, Bucks match, Brodito match. We had really good tag match all throughout Saturday night. And I, just like, what is that magic number? We'll call it per division. Like, how many? I don't know. It's kind of a food for thought. You got to have a deep roster, and I get that. But, how many can you really focus on? But I thought Saturday night, great tag matches. But what makes a complete tag division, if you will? I don't know.
Well, I know what makes a complete tag division for me is you've got to have variety. I feel like you need some monsters, you need some brawlers, you need some technical guys, you need some high flyers. Like, I think variety, just knowing that quote unquote styles make fights. I think if you've got a lot of sameness, I don't know how you really stand out. So I like some disparity. I need some tall guys, some shorter guys, some heavy guys, some light guys. I think I'm looking for that in the tag division.
Yeah.
Something I know that everybody's looking for is rock hard ding dong. And guys, it's time to enter the room dick first. Blue Chew's not just a tablet, it's a cheat code for your crotch. Stronger, harder, longer lasting. Like somebody gave your downstairs a pep talk and a gym membership. Blue Chew is the original brand offering chewable tablets for better sex. This ain't a supplement, it's an erection resurrection. Guys, we're not just talking about performance, we're talking about your legacy or your third legacy. Give her group chat something to talk about. Nothing makes you more of a legend than a little Blue Chew. Go discover your options right now at bluechew.com. We've got a special deal for our listeners. As always, get your first month of Blue Chew free. Just use the promo code MyWorld at checkout and pay $5 for shipping. That's it. Join Blue Chew's mission to upgrade humanity one thrust at a time. Head on over to bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And a big thanks to Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast. And we're back watching live here as we're seeing Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles take it to the limit. And by the way, you're going to see some great wrestling action in Hendersonville this Thursday night. Jeff Jarrett is wrestling in his hometown for the very first time. Of course, we're talking about Jeff Jarrett's All-Star Super Slam. It's a part of the Big Pig Fest happening in Hendersonville. And this show is indeed brought to you by Dude Wipes. It's happening this Thursday, October 23rd at Veterans Park. Tickets are on sale now at ProWrestlingTix.com. There's something for everybody. Jeff Jarrett's in the main event with One in a Billion, Satnam Singh. Of course, he's going to have maybe the Ring of Honor legend, Jay Lethal, in tow as well, and the Queen. So not just the King of the Mountain, but the Queen, Karen Jarrett, will be there as well. On the other side, some of 1FW's finest, featuring that dastardly QT Marshall. What about Elijah Drago and Brady Booker? It's going to be a heck of a match. There's even a concession stand brawl with our old pal James Storm, another TNA original. Ricky Morton's going to be there. Eric Young's going to be there. There's something for everybody at ProWrestlingTix.com. This Thursday, VIP meet and greet start at 5:30. Doors open at 6:30. The matches start at 7:30. That's ProWrestlingTix.com. Jeff, this is a long time coming, man. You've been in the game for a long time, and this is the very first time you're wrestling in your hometown. This should be fun.
Man, oh man, this morning in the gym, several folks. Hey, this is the week, so quite the buzz around here. I am excited. It's going to be very, very cool. Just the local flavor on it. The city Parks Department, Andy Gilley, he was on the ABC affiliate. I think he's on the CBS affiliate. We've had during the Tennessee-Alabama game, it was promoted. So lots of radio and TV and digital advertising, and it's going to be the biggest share yet on Saturday. I think over, I don't know, did I hear 80 teams? That sounds hard for me to imagine. They've maxed out of space. So Oak Ridge Boys on Friday night, but our show on Thursday. The event shirt was just kind of crystallized. That's going to be cool. I think those will sell quick. But anyhow, Conrad, I can't believe it's actually happening. So yeah, man, got to be there. You can get your tickets at ProWrestlingTix.com.
I'm fired up for it, man. You know, we talked a little bit about it this past weekend at Top Guy Weekend in St. Louis. You know, it's a crazy story, the one you've had in pro wrestling, and the idea that you've never wrestled in your hometown. This has got people coming out of the woodwork, people you grew up with, people you go to church with, people you go to meetings with, people you work out with, but even the entire family. All the Jarrett gals are wanting to come and bring their friends, and this feels like a big deal. And I was trying to talk to you on stage. We're trying to talk you into, hey man, you should have this filmed. You know, do your very first match, your only match realistically in Hendersonville. I can't imagine you'll do this again. Like the one and only time you wrestle in your hometown, I think you should film that. Maybe just document it, if nothing else, just for your own personal time capsule. But I think they would be interested in seeing, like, you know, if you could go back and say, hey, this is going to be Ric Flair's first and only time that he wrestled in so-and-so Minnesota. That'd be cool, right?
Conrad, I went to work Sunday yesterday and tried to figure out who I can. Nobody's really available as far as, I'll call it a 3-camera, you know, even a 2-camera, we'll call it a production. So I think the iPhones are going to have to be really in use. But I'll have a couple of different folks, or at least I'm going to try, because I think that might be some myworldpod.com on the YouTube channel. Right here on our YouTube channel. I think that'll be some good content. So we're going to get something. I feel confident, but I'm not sure what it'll be. But yeah, it is cool. The VIP people have called and said, hey, we can't get in the VIP. I thought you said, and I said, hey, I told you, get it early. So good problem to have. But yeah, the family is excited, you know, and you haven't mentioned, you know, the main eventer. I'm sure he's kind of figure his way. He's got a little feud going on with Big Ben Bishop, but Cody, like, where do you have him placed on the card, Conrad? Are you his manager? Because, you know, he is an Alabama fan now coming off the weekend. So,
well, you know, there's a lot of great young talent, you know, on this show. I know that Tyler Shoup is on the card. I'm a fan of his. I'm a huge fan of Adam Priest. He's on the card. Ray Fury is criminally underrated. Very Morales, unbelievable performer, but perhaps the blue chipper of the field is Cody Angle.
Well, how does Shoup train?
Harder. He trains harder.
I've heard that over and over and over. Your line, to your broadcast partner at 1FW, which is cool. Cody has that on repeat. So he's fired up, but he said that and I don't know if I've shared this with you, but he's told me this a couple of times, but I'm going to ask you, do you know Big Bishop's 2 weak spots? He's got 2. Which one? Now Cody knows he's 6'11", so that's kind of the hint. But do you know what Big Ben Bishop's 2 weak spots are?
His face, and his nads.
Well, bingo, you're half right. Cody told me a guy that tall, Dad, he's got 2 weak spots: his knees and his balls. I said, well, which one are you going for? He said both. I said, okay, game plan is down. So,
well, he's eye level with Big Ben Bishop's balls. He could just speed bag the yam bag if he wanted to.
He may even get that Grundle Mando style, like kind of a windmill going if he really rope-a-dopes it.
Can you imagine?
We're talking about Grundle and what'd you call it? Yaps. What'd you call it?
Yam bag.
Yam bag. And we got 21 minutes left in this Iron Man match. But
let's talk about the Iron Man match here, because you've got Christopher Daniels, who recently called it a career, wrestling his last match. And I think you and I both agree, timing is everything. He, like Gail Kim, if he'd come along a few years later, would have been an even bigger star. But what a trailblazer, how important he was for TNA, for Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, for AEW, just for California wrestling. I mean, he was the man. And to know that he's in there with AJ Styles, a guy who has said that next year will be his last year in wrestling. And over the weekend, he wrestled in Japan for WWE, and he announced that this was his final match in Japan. And knowing the history that he has, being the former New Japan World Heavyweight Champion and all that he's accomplished, I know there was a lot of discussion, a lot of chatter, as you like to say, once upon a time, that he and CM Punk did not get along at all. But there was a great photo where the boys had sort of lifted up AJ on their shoulders in the ring in Japan. And there was a great candid shot of CM Punk and AJ Styles locking eyes. There's a mutual respect and appreciation. It's weird because it doesn't feel like that long ago, specifically in the era we're watching now. I know it was 20 years ago, but it doesn't feel like 20 years ago. And we would say, hey, this is the future of the business. This is what it's going to be. And now we're bidding farewell to the future. I feel like a lot of guys my age, we sort of grew up with this crop of talent thinking, hey, they're going to be the next big thing. And now they're sunsetting their careers. It's a hell of a thing to watch as a wrestling fan, Jeff.
It's crazy. That move that AJ just did there, up and over the top and clotheslining him back in, the chemistry these two guys had. And I'll call this is the young AJ. Like, Daniels had incredible bounce in his legs during this era, but AJ was just next level. His athleticism, there would be maybe a Morphoplex executive or a Spike executive. I'll call it a non-wrestling fan that could be at one of our events. I'll call it on business. They would always comment like, damn, that AJ Styles is athletic, isn't he? I'm like, yep, he does it every match, every night. But yeah, AJ's, I'll call it career decisions. I think in a lot of ways, guys in the industry today should really take note of it, because he had been with TNA since the beginning, 2002, 2013. He's gone on record and kind of said, okay, the founder resigned. They're giving me a number that I'm not real comfortable with. I've got to pivot in my career. We've had these conversations. Him making the decision in New Japan and how I'll call it, went all in and looked at it from that perspective. You just kind of look around and know that AJ committed. And by the time he, debuted in Orlando at WWE, it set him up candidly for his next 10-year run, which is good for him. That's why he can have a weekend like he did this last weekend in Japan and have the dressing room lift him up, because he has hate a dude in the right word. Yes, he's done that, but he's such a well-rounded performer.
It's incredibly fun to watch these guys do their thing. There's a reason they won the absolute best match of the night.
Oh yeah.
And what's great about TNA in this era is, let's just run through what you've seen so far. If you were in the crowd that night, and I was fortunate enough to be one of those guys, a 4-way. Let me just run through the names again. Sanjay Dutt, Austin Aries, Roderick Strong, and Alex Shelley. And then we saw Samoa Joe beat Jushin Liger. And then we saw Simon Diamond, Elix Skipper, and David Young beat Sonny Siaki, Apollo, and Shark Boy. Monty Brown beat Lance Hoyt. Eric Young, Bobby Roode, and A1 beat Conan, BG James, and Ron Killings. Petey Williams and the Ultimate X over Matt Bentley and Chris Sabin. Chris Harris and James Storm, America's Most Wanted, getting a win over Andy Douglas and Chase Stevens. Then that incredible Monsters Ball we just watched that even Meltzer said was a show stealer. Rhino, Sabu, Abyss, and Jeff Hardy. And now we've got a technical match here with a lot of high spots. AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels in a 30-minute Iron Man match for the X Division title. Coming up next is the Gauntlet Battle Royal, and then the world title with Rhino and Jeff Jarrett. Like, this is about as freaking loaded as you can get of a card, really.
And I thought very diverse.
Yes.
It was kind
Something for everybody.
Yeah. And that was always, taught to me. I just think when you look at professional wrestling and the audience that it brings out, there is, I don't say just this, something for everybody, because everybody performed at a high quality, but it makes a table spot that much bigger if you don't see 6 of them a night. I know that's the low hanging fruit as far as comments, but these guys get into a technical match and go 30 minutes and they're next to last, and they followed all that. But it just the diversity. The folks in the arena haven't seen what these two guys have done. There's so much that goes into, I think, really thinking through how do you emotionally engage your audience, and you just cannot continue to do the same thing all night long.
Well, you're switching it up. And by the way, you're doing this in front of a big audience. We mentioned there's between 30 and 35,000 buys for this. A lot of this is because the night before, Impact set a record, 1.28 million viewers.
Think about that.
It's unbelievable. So, as a reminder, week 1, 800 and something, week 2, almost 1 million, like 990 something. Week 3, the night before the pay-per-view, 1.28. You had to be so optimistic. I mean, you talk about mixed emotions. Hey guys, we did record ratings. Oh, we lost the main event. Same day. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, but you know what? And yes, obviously you can't compare apples to apples. It was a different era, but for the time, this is not even primetime television, and you're doing 1.2, 1.1, whatever it was, 1.1, 1.2,
1.28. Yeah.
Yeah. So almost 1.3 million viewers at 11 o'clock Eastern. It obviously we were on cloud 9 in a lot of different ways. But like Grado or Will Ospreay, there is a generation of folks that when for the first time they saw this product on, because all they had ever seen was WWE. They saw an alternative. And so, it's very cool to kind of look back on this and know that the momentum that we had and then really started to generate in these early Spike days.
I want to mention you had people from all over at this show. Fans from New York were there, fans from Chicago, even fans from Alabama were there.
Yeah.
How about Japan? How about Italy? How about Australia? Even the UK. It's got to be, I don't know, something that makes you feel good to know that, your dad started promoting wrestling in Memphis, Tennessee, and then, Evansville, Indiana, and Louisville, Kentucky. And there were some stretches, but to know that now people are consuming your content and then flying in to see it in person from Japan and from Italy and from Australia and from the UK. I think we kind of take that for granted now, because technology is so different then. I mean, now thanks to our phones, I mean, we've got access to every wrestling promotion in the world throughout space and time. But that was not the case once upon a time. And the idea that you have people who were making a trip to come see it in person, that had to make you feel some sort of sense of pride, right?
Yeah, and sitting there at ringside looking at Jimmy Suzuki, legendary Japanese photographer, Bill Otten, obviously Lee South, who was with us from day one. He's been the lead photographer at AEW since day one.
North Alabama guy, shout out Ardmore, Tennessee.
Exactly. But just what you're kind of saying, the documentation of it, knowing that Bill or Suzuki, they don't fly in and shoot content unless they know that they're going to be able to, in these days, sell their photos, sell their content. And so, yeah, very, very cool. But man, look at, you look at those three guys in the ring, all three. Old Danny Engler, one of the top refs. AJ, obviously we just talked about him, and Chris, his position at AEW is right there at the top. So, yeah, man, very cool to see, Connie.
I want to give a shout out to some of the positive notes here that Dave Meltzer had about your first episode of TNA on Spike. Dave wrote, "My main feeling when it was over is that TNA needs to produce 2 shows per week. The reason is not that the show was so great I want to see it twice, but I would never call it bad or boring. But it was exactly what I feared. They tried to cram so much into 1 hour that in the end, nothing had meaning. From start to finish, everything felt rushed. It was like watching the old Mat Rats out of Canada, which was a fun show filled with great moves, but nobody's personality got over and no stories were told. AJ and Roderick Strong rushed through so fast with their match that you were left with a feeling of nothing but a few oohs and ahs of Styles' more spectacular moves." Like, I like the idea that Meltzer, even in his own way, is giving a backhanded compliment saying, "Hey, this is good, but we need more of it." Did you feel immediately that there was pressure that you needed more time as well?
From the day that we were told, hey, we're going to do a time buy at Fox Sports Net, I knew, because of my Memphis days, to write a 1 hour wrestling show, 42 minutes, but you're promoting, in theory, a 7-match minimum card. It is even in this time, 2004, 2005, because in the old days, the territory days, you didn't have to worry about really building a opening match or a second or third match on the card. There came a time where those days were gone. When during the Attitude Era, the philosophy, that's when enhancement matches went away for all intents and purposes. During the Attitude Era, the Monday Night Wars, they basically phased out enhancement matches. So when you have every match competitive and you're building stories and storylines and doing the card and looking at anywhere from, I'll call it 7 to 9 to maybe 10 on a pay-per-view, to try to create, and that's where it gets really, really hard when you have 1 hour show. Now AEW, obviously, we have 4 hours a week to tell stories. WWE, we'll call it, in a lot of ways, 7. You count NXT, if you will, that to tell stories. So when we're trying to sell a pay-per-view of 7 matches, but have 1 hour a week to do it, Dave, there's some validity to that. It was really a tough challenge for the creative room and the creative process.
We're watching a pretty money match here with AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels. Speaking of money, I want to brag about our friends over at Cash App. I'm a big believer in this. If you haven't already, I want to recommend that you go check out Cash App, because Cash App is way more than just a safe way to send and receive money. You see, with the Cash App card, you get tons of perks without hidden fees. Think early access to concert pre-sales, including big stars like Kendrick Lamar and even Sabrina Carpenter. Plus, you get discounts on everyday purchases at brands you're already probably spending money on. It also helps you keep your money safe by automatically flagging suspicious transactions and letting you lock your card instantly if it's ever lost or stolen. And I'm telling you, when I'm traveling, Cash App is a lifesaver. And right now, for a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use the code Cash App 10 in their profile. All you got to do is use it in your profile and sign up. That code again is Cash App 10, and then send $5 to a friend within 14 days. How about that? That's worth repeating. New Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use the code Cash App 10 in their profile at sign up, and then send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Terms apply. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners, prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Discounts provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Once again, we're watching an incredible Iron Man match here with Christopher Daniels and AJ Styles. I have so much respect for these performers. I love their stuff, but I got to tell you, as far as the stipulation goes, my God, a backdrop to the floor off the apron. Look at the hushed
Back
tones of the crowd.
Yeah.
What did you think of that?
Both those guys know what they're doing. You know, it's
Let's go to a one shot of Jeff if we can. Jeff, let's pretend right before we're working through the match and I say, hey, Jeff, hypothetically, what if I get you on the apron and I just back suplex you right there onto the floor? What do you think? Could you take that? Easily my Jeff Jarrett favorite reaction to being asked to take a Canadian destroyer. That's the Danny DeVito gif. Just earlier today, I read an interview with Billy Gunn where he was talking about how he has to be pretty selective with what he does these days. And
yeah,
I thought that the way he summed it up when I read it, I couldn't help but send it to you with the Danny DeVito gif because it just nailed it, didn't it?
Well, ROI.
Yeah.
I always go back to the ROI. And guys, and look, that's why I want to be very respectful of AJ and Chris, because yeah, they did high flying. And I mean, my God, AJ would do stuff that you would go, but he knew his limits better than
That's
anybody.
right.
And so
That's
that's smart. And when you're, at this point, they're 25 minutes into an Ironman match. They knew they needed to pull something out. They didn't do that every night, but in a high adrenaline, high profile match like this, I have no problem with either guy doing that. I've done some things, maybe not a suplex, but I've done some things and like, okay, this is a scenario. If you're going to do it, you do it. And they get the 10 count out of it, adds to the drama. Again, both these guys respected the hell out of each other in their work. So they knew what they were doing.
What I was getting ready to say before we saw that incredible bump to the floor, I mean, it's worth going out of your way to see, folks, at myworldpod.com or watch the entire match over at TNAwrestling.com to sign up for TNA Plus. Yes, sir.
Got a question for you. As a fan, I've never, this is maybe the luxury of it, but do you prefer, as a fan sitting in the arena on an Ironman match, do you prefer to see the clock the big screen? We put them on the screens in there. Do you prefer to see it, or would you rather have gone, count down and see it at 25 minutes and then take it down, then maybe see it at 20 minutes and then at 15 and then at 10 and maybe 5? Like, would you rather the screen be up the whole time or periodically as it built toward the countdown?
I remember being in the arena for this.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
people are standing up and sitting down during all the high spots, of course. And I'm looking at the clock thinking, because they're cheering every false finish, right? They're on their feet for every false finish. And I've hated Ironman matches for a long time.
Yep. Okay.
Hated them in 05 too.
Okay.
I just watched the clock and knew doesn't matter till it says 25. When there's 5 minutes left, I'll start paying attention, but I don't have to see anything else.
Yeah.
And that to me does a disservice, because one of the things I like about seeing a UFC in person is I'm on the edge of my seat, because at any given blow or strike or takedown, this could be it. He could submit him. He could knock him out. He could kick him and knock him out, whatever it may be. He could knee him and knock him. So you're really in tune with those flurries and things like that. But in this case where, they're going to go 30 minutes, I think it kind of takes me out of it, Joe. I know it takes me out of it because I just know pro wrestling. Now, that being said, I know everything AEW does gets criticized these days. I loved the idea that they started the pay-per-view with a match joined in progress. We used to see this all the time in wrestling on TV. They would even abbreviate it amongst tape traders. They would say JIP, joined in progress. So you don't see the beginning of the match, but you see, and the idea that these guys were battling while the pyro's going off in the background, it added a layer of realism to me. It always used to annoy me the old way that WWE produced television, because when I was watching Raw or SmackDown, I would know if somebody's going to get thrown to the outside, Jeff, Michael Cole's going to crash to a break. Like that was the spot that everybody did. And I just knew when somebody gets thrown out, okay, well, I can go to the bathroom now. I can go make a drink, whatever. So the idea that the match that started on the pre-show didn't end right before the pre-show, it bled over into the main event or into the actual main pay-per-view, I thought was awesome. I liked it. It added a layer of realism. But an Iron Man match like we're seeing right now, and look, everybody's on their feet. Everybody's excited, but they're supposed to be. We've still not had one fall, and we're going to have one fall here in the last minute. This is what I'm striving for. So I've kind of sat through the last 29 minutes to get to this point. Now I know the finish is coming, whatever it may be. Here it is. And I'm not wrong. I know that I get criticized on this, but there's a red zone channel for the NFL. There's not a first down channel.
No, I'm with you. So on the Saturday night deal. So when I started seeing, I'll call it nonsense, that like, oh, Conrad, don't get me started on that, because people acting like folks can't time the show and this and that. All
Stupid.
But here's what I mean. I chuckled to myself.
Look at this finish. Let's listen. Hang on one second. Let's listen to this finish. What an innovative finish.
He's got it. He hits it. 7, 6, 4, 2, 3. He started at the last second.
The winner of the match, and still X-Division champion of the world, the phenomenal AJ Styles.
So anyway, I just wanted the people to see that. If you haven't seen that finishing sequence, it's amazing. It's one of my favorite finishing sequences in the history of TNA. These guys are just a ball and they're tangled up, and somewhere out of the ball, oh my God, he's going to set up the Styles Clash. I absolutely loved it. Didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to.
And damn, all three guys. You think about Rudy. He better not be late.
That's right.
I mean, you better. That is a risk that those two guys, in essence, beat the shit out of each other and laid it all on the line in the biggest match of the year. And they threw the keys to the match to Danny Engler.
Yeah. And they all nailed it.
No, they nailed it. That's what I'm saying is that's the nuances of, the story behind the story behind the story, mutual respect, and look at AJ selling it. But for them to hit it and Danny and them to trust, Dan, I call him Dan, Rudy. It just congrats all three of them. Fantastic. Just absolutely fantastic.
You were talking about the timing of the show. We're referring, of course, to AEW Wrestle Dream this past weekend.
Yeah, and I told Karen, I said, bingo. I said, to me, I hope everyone internally looks at the, I'll call it online discourse, as a win. It's exactly the reaction you wanted.
People are talking about it.
Happened. They screwed up. My God, those people don't even blah, blah, blah. No, that's what you want. You want people to make it controversial. Now, they went down the wrong road, but at the end of the day, quote unquote, that wasn't supposed to happen. Exactly. That's what we were trying for. The real deal was they did it exactly how they laid it out. Hilarious. Good stuff.
Well, we're seeing Mike Tenay and Don West at the desk here. I think everybody knows you and I love us some Don West. Do you think that we've seen the last of Mike Tenay in wrestling, or do you think we could still see him do something wrestling adjacent?
I would love to see him do something. He's to me, look, I know I'm biased. I wanted him to be a part of the brand that my father launched as the lead play-by-play. But no, I just think he's very, very, very good at what he does. I certainly hope we see him. I just hope we hadn't seen the last of him.
Samoa Joe is out here. He's going to be in this gauntlet. I'm fired up for that. I was fired up to see him challenging Hangman Adam Page for the world title at WrestleDream 2. I had an opportunity to catch up with Tony Khan the day before the pay-per-view. He came by our radio station there in St. Louis. Shout out to all the fine folks at KLIS, the Lou Information Station, 590 AM. And when he was in the studio, he shared something with me that I'll admit I did not recall, but I love that. That's why Tony is the matchmaker. That's the belt where Samoa Joe, or that's the building where Samoa Joe lost the belt, where he was getting a shot back at it. I thought that was cool. I enjoyed the match. I don't think I've ever not enjoyed a Samoa Joe match. But then afterwards, we saw the Ops come in and they put a beat down on Hangman. Were you surprised to see? I mean, Joe is almost like a beloved figure everywhere he goes in wrestling. And I don't know if you're triple teaming the babyface world champion. Maybe this is a new coat of paint on an evil Samoa Joe.
I'm really curious to see Dynamite. I'll say that. Based off of that, they hugged and did the pause, and it sunk in. And then when he took his head off with the clothesline, I said, okay, here we go. I thought, I'm intrigued, as we used to say. All right, you got me.
How fun is it to see Ron Killing sort of mocking the Polynesian dance and then take a punch to the mouth? This is great stuff.
Ronnie's, man, and I know he's gotten his love, but it goes without saying. He's he is such an entertainer in every single level. I love to talk and watch and reminisce about different Larry Bird stories about making everybody better. Ronnie makes everybody better.
I love that.
He just does, no matter what it may be. And look, and I've said it on here, a very serious tone heel Ron Killings is my favorite version. I love the comedy. I love all that. But when Ronnie really wants to dig in and be a heel, good God, he's very, very powerful and a box office kind of guy that way.
I do want to ask you about St. Louis. Of course, we are just on the heels of the big AEW pay-per-view WrestleDream. We mentioned the Darby Allin, John Moxley main event and all the violence there, but we saw Sting with the white hair. Now we've seen Sting with the white hair in full get up, making appearances on the convention circuit, but white haired Sting, I think he even has the trademark now for old man Sting. So we'll call him Old Man Sting. I say that respectfully. He's trademarked it, so good for him.
He's trademarked that?
Yeah. He told me before he kind of envisions it being like, I don't know what he'll do with the character. Obviously, he's not going to do any more in-ring wrestling, but maybe there's some stuff outside of the ring he could do with it. But think about Clint Eastwood, we all knew he was a badass in the Westerns, and we all knew he was a badass as Dirty Harry. But when he did like Gran Torino, and now he's just like the old man, get off my lawn, badass. That maybe could be like what Old Man Sting is. I like that. What'd you think of Old Man Sting?
That's the Toby song. Don't let the old man in. That song, God, I get chills. That was damn. That story. That's a whole nother Toby story. Well, Conrad, if Sting's happy, I'm happy. But
there you go.
I would prefer for him to drop the old and the man and just go with the Sting. But that's him. Again, I get it. Things change. I thought his aura in the ring when he cracked that aquarium, it had a dare I say, maybe the highlight. The people were up as high as they're going to get for the night. I mean, it's one thing for the lights come back on and they pop, but man, when he cracked that aquarium with that belt, and it's like it was I'll say this, it was a real Sting moment, and that's what you want. It was a true Sting moment.
I do want to ask you that match in particular. We mentioned that there were some challenges with the commission. I know that you've been wrestling for a long, long time. And I also know that there's a lot of people, myself included, who may be geographically challenged. Maybe they don't recognize or realize how close St. Louis is to Illinois. And someone pointed out to me that a lot of the independent organizations that just want to sort of get around or circumvent some challenges with the Missouri State Athletic Commission, they just run their shows over the state line in Illinois.
Oh yeah.
Did you have problems with the Missouri Athletic Commission before?
Well, look, because if you go back to the Tennessee territory, the boot heel of Missouri down in the southeast corner of it, Cape Girardeau, Kennett, back in the day, it was a licensed commission. Now Arkansas had that, but I'll say this, at TNA, we ran St. Charles, what was that, the Show Me Center? Yeah, we've run we'll call it our fair share, but it's nothing new. They've always been a commission state. They've always run it with, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. You go to other states and they just, from a government perspective, it's not as stringent as other states. I get it. It's how they do things. Can't say that I agree in this day and age, in that we're a rock and roll / entertainment show, but they got their rules, and ultimately they're the boss. And so you abide by the boss's rules.
We got our gauntlet underway here now. And man, I feel like we ran the gauntlet this past weekend with Top Guy weekend. I want to talk about that in just a moment. But first, I want to brag about our friends over at Magic Spoon. By now, you know that Magic Spoon makes high protein, zero sugar cereal, treats, and well, everything else that's all been reinvented from your childhood. One of the things I love about doing these shows is we get to talk about the way wrestling used to be and the way life used to be. And Magic Spoon, man, it kind of hits for me on that level, because it tastes just like the cereal that I grew up eating, except it's not loaded with a bunch of sugar. Instead, it's loaded with a bunch of protein. Maybe you know this, but as a reminder, every serving of Magic Spoon high protein cereal has 13 grams of protein, but 0 grams of sugar, and only 4 grams of net carbs. They come in all your favorite flavors you had as a kid too. Maybe this sounds familiar: fruity, cocoa, frosted. Yeah, it tastes like those, but without the sugar and instead with protein. It really is a life hack. And Magic Spoon's high protein treats are crispy, they're crunchy, they're airy, and an easy way to get 12 grams of protein on the go. They come in great flavors like marshmallow, chocolate peanut butter, and dark chocolate. They're great on the go. They're great as a pre or a post workout. They're even great as a midnight snack. And right now you can get $5 off your next order at magicspoon.com/myworld, or look for Magic Spoon on Amazon or in your nearest grocery store. That's magicspoon.com/myworld for $5 off. Man, we're getting the ring loaded here. And here comes Rhino, fresh off the Monsters Ball, holding his ribs on his way to the ring. You see Lance Hoytson still in there. Sabu's in there. Ron Killings is in there.
So Conrad,
Joe.
Right now, we're 20 years later, and other than Sabu, everybody's still active. I'm not saying in ring, but they're all still grinding away.
Yeah, Lance Hoyt working with WWE. Ron Killings under contract as a WWE performer. Yeah, my apologies. I was thinking about well, I'm rattling names off here. Your turn.
There's Abyss, WWE, Ron Killings, WWE, Samoa Joe, AEW, Lance Hoyt, AEW. Obviously, he did a fine job on 0 Hour Saturday night. I'll say that for sure. But anyhow, here we are 20 years later, and the folks are still going. But you know what? This probably didn't sink into me. Look who's there. Look at old Billy, fresh out of there. But the guys that had to do double duty on the biggest show of the year, it was a tough spot for us going back to the Nash medical situation. It was just obviously a tough spot for him to be in as well. But man, All those guys went out and tore the house down, and then they got to come back out and work a 10, 12 minute gauntlet. Not the easiest thing to do, Conrad. Not the easiest thing to do.
I assume that you needed that Iron Man match just from a placement on the card. You needed that Iron Man match just to give Rhino some time to take a breath. I mean, my God, you're asking him to wrestle 3 matches here.
Well, we already had that obviously booked. It not like we threw the Iron Man stip on it, but just the flow, the show,
the order of things is what I'm talking about.
My gut tells me that's probably already had it laid out going into the week. Would be my gut. Already had it laid out that way because it was maybe not the main event, but it was who's going to follow 30 minutes of AJ Styles and Chris Daniels.
AJ Styles is coming back to the ring fresh off of a 30-minute match.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is unbelievable.
It is. And so when you really look at it, the layout, I wish I could go back and know what our original format was, but my gut tells me that we probably didn't alter it too much. We just added the gauntlet and me and Rhino, where it would have just been Nash, alternate. So the AJ, we gave Rhino a break, but we didn't give AJ much a break. He went back to back. So, and he, as far as in-ring minutes, AJ gets the nod this night, most minutes inside the ring, if you will.
Yeah, this match goes 14 minutes, this gauntlet match here.
Yeah.
Which is quite a long match for it to be just a last minute ad. Hey, we had a big time over the weekend. You and I were both in St. Louis, not just for Wrestle Dream, but for ad-free shows, Top Guys. And man, it was pretty cool. We had a who's who stop by with us. We went to a comedy show, and well, most of the things we talked about on that comedy show, we could never even say on YouTube. We'd get bleeped to death and back. But RJ City was there, and Colt Cabana was there, and Jerry Lynn, and of course you and the Queen were there, and David Crockett was in attendance, as was Tony Schiavone and others. It was Thekla was there.
It's a full house.
It was a full house, sold out, couldn't squeeze another person in there. How about Tony Schiavone doing a little monologue? He did more than held his own, didn't he?
A stand-up comedian, he is very impressive. And I've gone through the years, Zanies. I know me and you at one point, but being in a room like that when it's comedy, in a lot of ways. I told Karen this. Me, Schiavone, and Karen rode back, but I told Karen we were getting almost back to the hotel, and I said, there's something to going to comedy clubs. We should go more often. Laughter is the best medicine. My stomach, from laughing so much, and this, we won't get into all the details. I laughed the hardest laughing at Tony Schiavone getting tickled at an answer during Match Game. I'll just say that. But him laughing was so infectious and contagious. My stomach was hurting.
Check out What Happened When with Tony Schiavone. We record it Monday nights live with a studio audience from adfreeshows.com. It drops on Wednesday everywhere else. That's Tony Schiavone and What Happened When. Maybe my favorite part of the comedy routine that night, though, was Harley Cameron. What a talented person she is, right? I mean, my gosh, what can't she do? Ventriloquist stuff, singing songs. She's beautiful. She can act. She can wrestle. It's like, what can't she do?
She can speak Chinese.
I knew she's bilingual, and I mean, there's so much, it's unbelievable. Her talent knows no bounds. And the idea that, if I'm honest with you, some of the things she was saying, I was like, can we say these words in front of Mr. Crockett and Mr. Dean Malenko? I mean, but we did. It was a great time. We also had panels with Jeff Jarrett, with Tony Schiavone, with Powerhouse Hobbs, who told his story that I don't think the world has ever really heard. An unbelievable story, like a feel-good movie is Powerhouse Hobbs' life. We also caught up with David Crockett. He's kind of like the unofficial mascot of ad-free shows. And we had Trevor Murdoch stop by to tell some Harley race stories. We had multiple people get so emotional they were moved to tears on stage. And of course, Efren, man, he does such a great job with the games. We did Name That Tune. It was just an outstanding experience. And we all went to see Wrestle Dream together. We went to see a stand-up comedy show together, and it was a lot of fun. And Jeff, you're one of my top guys here on the podcast network. And you know what we've got planned for Top Guy Rumble at the end of January. Go ahead.
I don't want to jump in on you, but when are you going to start dripping out the details? Folks, if you're listening to this, I'm telling you, it will be, well, I'm not kidding you. The experience that Conrad is cooking up as Rhino wins is going to be worth multiples of what Top Guys are. The monthly fee. I mean, multiples upon multiples upon multiples. It's really going to be a one of a kind weekend.
For the last 2 years, we've had not just one Top Guy weekend, but two. Usually Top Guy weekend piggybacks a major AEW event, and we get to go watch the show and that sort of thing, and fellowship with some of their crew. And then we do another weekend, and it's Top Guy Rumble, where we watch the Royal Rumble together. Now this year, the Royal Rumble is in Saudi Arabia. So we've got something up our sleeves that Jeff is pretty damn excited about. We'll be talking about it in the coming weeks, but the only way to take part is to be a top guy over at adfreeshows.com. So it's a whole lot more than just extra podcasts and extra bonus content throughout the year, but a couple of live weekend experiences where you can leave your wallet at home. You know, you're not going to be paying for meet and greets. You're not going to be, paying to buy, special merch. Like, this is just friends hanging out, watching wrestling. But Top Guy Rumble has taken on a new coat of paint where we're actually doing the fantasy camp. So I'm excited about that. We're going to be doing that again in January on Royal Rumble weekend. Go join us right now at adfreeshows.com. And right now we've got a special limited time offer. You get 75% off your first month as a Top Guy when you use the promo code TOPGUY75. That's $75 in savings. We're going to let you go ahead and get hooked up at a deep discount right now at adfreeshows.com. Be sure to use that promo code TOPGUY75 and you'll get 75% off at adfreeshows.com. I can't wait, man. January is going to be here before we know it. And folks are going to get to step into a wrestling ring, and we're going to watch the Royal Rumble. And we've got some other stuff up our sleeve that I think people are going to be pretty fired up about. Don't you think, Jeff?
Oh, definitely. It is going to be a one of a kind event. Check the pyro on the guitar, Conrad, right here. I don't want to interrupt you. Boom. Pyro out of the guitar. Did you see that?
I did, but if I'm honest with you, it gets lost in the background, pyro.
And we've said it so many times. And then, Conrad, just to let you know, we did a walkthrough one day and we did the regular pyro cue there. And then I went to the ring and saved the guitar pyro for just in the ring. We could have done that. And it was just kind of like a little sparkler, if you will, that would come out. You know, just wasn't the effect, if you will. And we also did, we tried it multiple ways, but it would get lost.
Jeff asked that or made sure to point that out to me because I have freestyled an idea to Jeff before. And Tito Ortiz is your referee. Man, you want to talk about 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag. You got so much going on in this main event. Rhino is wrestling his third match now, having won the Monsters Ball and then won the over the top battle royal, the gauntlet. And now here comes the world champ with all the pyro and all the trimmings. And the referee is UFC champion, former UFC light heavyweight champion, one of the biggest stars in UFC, no doubt, in 2005, Tito Ortiz. How was Tito to work with?
Great. He is a pro's pro. I got to seeing it. Hadn't seen him when I saw him at Hogan's Service, and we called up. It was fun to catch up with old Tito, but man, he's a pro, a wrestling fan, obviously a showman. But you talk about a guy red hot in 2005. Come on, man. He was, and again, just getting on Spike. It fit. Now, having him in a match against me and Nash, if I remember correctly, we had some different things laid out, just different spots. Knowing that we were dealt this hand and Rhino, like why did we roll the coffin out? I don't know if you saw that on my entrance. Like, why did we do that? I'd have to refresh my brain. I need a hint. And I'll dial back into it. But man, you talk about kind of working behind the 8 ball with Rhino, like you said, third time out there. Just it's a tough spot. It really is. The close of a show. that had seen Iron Man and Monsters Ball and X Division and Great Tag and seen so much. Just, it was a difficult spot. I'll say it again.
Well, you probably remember the casket is a callback to the Dudley funeral.
Yep. But why did we roll it at the beginning? But go ahead.
Because Team 3D is going to come out and put, we'll watch, but TNA is now got an ECW Invasion and Flair. Rhino is one of those ECW originals along with Team 3D. So the post-match beatdown is going to happen on Rhino because America's Most Wanted is going to come out. 3 Live Crew is going to make the save. Here comes Team Canada. It's going to be a big schmoz, and they're going to go to put Rhino in the casket, and here comes Team 3D.
Look who's on the top rope, Connie.
I can't believe it. Where's the Danny DeVito? Oh, there you go. I had a feeling you weren't going to try to go for a 450 there. Just my gut.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Now it all came back. That's right. I'm just wondering, man, I wish I could remember all this. Like, if Nash would have been here, what would we have done? The Team 3D? I'm not exactly sure, but we were making the best of a unique situation. Again, up to this point, I believe all of us had the vibe backstage that the show was kicking ass.
Is this, I know it's Bound for Glory, but is it really TNA chicken salad?
The main event?
Yeah,
Yeah. We did the best we could, and going through the different competitors or options. It was just, Joe too soon, Monty too soon. You can't go on, substitute main event. You got to put the babyface over. How are we going to figure it out? We already had me and Rhino booked for a TV coming up, but it was just a difficult situation. We did the best that we could with the hand we were dealt.
We're watching, of course, TNA. Go ahead.
No, just Gail coming in, jumping right on Tito. He's going to politely put her out.
You can watch this over on TNA Plus, by the way. You can watch all the Bound for Glories there. Appreciate them allowing us to show the footage here on YouTube at myworldpod.com. It's one thing just to listen to the show, but it is another thing completely to have an opportunity to watch wrestling with Jeff and have him break it down as we do
Conrad,
it.
watch this guitar shot. It got him.
Oh, I don't remember seeing you wind up and swing it like a baseball bat at that height very often.
No. And buddy, when I tell you Rhino didn't have a problem running Rhino speed through it, that guitar exploded, and that wasn't a WCW guitar by any stretch.
Give some context to what you mean, WCW guitar. Most people don't know what you're talking about there.
They were made out of California and super proppy, if you will, made out of a different wood. I hate to say this, they weren't real guitars. They were truly manufactured for explosion purposes. The guitars that always work best are actually real guitars with a little of magic done to them. But Rhino, my God, he went through that damn thing. I remember the sound it made in the arena, or certainly in my hands. It exploded. There's Tito throwing his good punches.
How were Tito's punches?
Buddy, right in there and solid. I mean, super.
Oh, listen to that. I don't remember that being the finish. Take a look at the crowd. They're fired up. They can't believe it.
There was a debate earlier, Conrad, I'll say late in the day, but earlier in the day, knowing that, and here comes the story afterwards, that you can't expect Rhino to go out after a Monsters Ball and do anything other than, a 5 to 7 impactful match, pardon the pun. So that's what we chose to, and I wholeheartedly, because I think Dutch wanted to go a little bit longer. I'm not sure who else, but I stand by it in the reaction. I think it would have done the match and Rhino a disservice had we gone, a 15-minute world title match. I just don't think it would have worked. Now that I see this, it is coming back, and the whole setup, the roof is about to come off, as we say.
And I think it starts when they try to put Rhino in the casket, right?
Yes. So the scene that you're watching right now it's 4-5 Team Canada, and how many AMW, so 7 or 8 on Rhino and 3 Live Crew. Man, oh man.
I love that you guys had planned for that. We'll have 2 guys hold the ropes open while these other guys slide the casket through. Let's track it here and take a listen.
After what Rhino's gone through, this is sick. The blood just look at it coming down his face, and of course, symbolically, it's a guitar shot, and then they're gonna bury. Oh, another one, man! What is this guy gonna go through? He put him in. Oh, that is just awful.
Bloody mess.
This is sick. This is a horrible way to leave you at Bound for Glory. Oh, sorry, that's no longer your belt. No longer your
Jarrett.
belt.
You don't own it. You can post.
Wait a minute.
I love the
It is Team 3D.
No freaking way.
Here comes brother.
So you were saying, Jeff, we couldn't hear you because of the playback. You love what now?
I love Team 3D's music during this era. The beginning of it would, and I get it, and Pavlov Dog, and you essentially condition the people, but it had really a good vibe. And man, just the way we went off the air this night, the people got their money's worth in so many ways.
Well, listen, we know that Rhino has been an ECW world champion. He held a bunch of belts in WWE, tag titles and hardcore titles and US titles, but he just won the NWA world title, and it wasn't supposed to happen. It was supposed to be Kevin Nash and Jeff Jarrett. I assume if Kevin Nash was able to attend, you would have retained here.
Yes. And I think that's why I was trying to remember, did we always have the Team 3D run in, or were we saving it, or did we pull the trigger? Simon Inoki was in town. This is the New Japan relationship was really starting to gel. So, what we were and weren't going to do. But this is what we ended up going with, obviously.
Rhino is going to be in the history books as being one of the, 100 some odd NWA world champions, but it only lasted 2 days. He dropped the belt back to you 2 days later at the TV taping. But that'll do it, boys and girls, on the very first edition of Bound for Glory, the very first one, 2005. Does it feel like it was 20 years ago, Jeff?
Unbelievable. No, I mean, it literally, when we were, Tennessee getting their ass whipped Saturday night, and the Russell Dream and Charlie Thez there, and, match after match after match Saturday night, the vibe of, pulling off a pay-per-view and knowing we had this on our next recording, it's almost unfathomable to me, Conrad, that it's 20 years ago. Time, when you say time flies, my gosh, unreal, unbelievable.
Go watch the entire Bound for Glory and all the Bound for Glories right now on TNA Plus. We want to give a shout out to them for allowing us to show some of their Bound for Glory footage. It's easy to do. Go right now to TNAWrestling.com. You can sign up for different subscriptions. I recommend the annual subscription. You're going to get the pay-per-views. You're going to get all the impacts and explosions. You're going to get everything from the very beginning of TNA, the good old days at TNAWrestling.com. But as you're listening to this, 48 hours from now, the last outlaw will strut that ass Fargo style to the ring for the very first and probably the only time in his hometown of Hendersonville, Tennessee. Of course, I'm talking about Jeff Jarrett's All-Star Super Slam. Tickets are on sale now at ProWrestlingTix.com. The meet and greet, it's sold out. You missed your chance. That was at 5:30. Doors open at 6:30. And the bell for the matches will be at 7:30. It's happening this Thursday, brought to you by Dude Wipes at the Pig Fest in Hendersonville, Tennessee. Don't you dare miss Jeff Jarrett's All-Star Super Slam. That's 48 hours from now, October 23rd at Veterans Park, Hendersonville, Tennessee. Jeff Jarrett's got a huge main event. Literally, no one bigger in the whole wrestling game than Satnam Singh, Jay Lethal, and the Last Outlaw on one side, with the Queen holding court outside as they take on QT Marshall, Brady Booker, and Elijah Drago. How about Cowboy James Storm's going to be there? What about Ricky Morton's going to be in the house? Ray Fury's going to be in the house. You don't want to miss him or Very Morales. And one of my hometown favorites, of course, Adam Priest, the dirty white boy himself from Coleman, Alabama. He's going to be in there. How about Eric Young? Haven't seen him in a long time. We've even got the little guys. It's something for everybody, and it's happening 48 hours from now. Don't dare miss Jeff Jarrett's All-Star Super Slam. It's the Pig Fest in Hendersonville, Tennessee, brought to you by Dude Wipes, and tickets are on sale now at ProWrestlingTix.com. Jeff, I got a whole crew coming. Steve Patty from The Office is coming. Dave Westbrook is coming. I think Cassio Kid's coming. We're gonna have Alabama's gonna be well represented, and we won't be wearing any of our orange clothing that day, Jeff.
Wow, how about that? I didn't know that. Okay, all right. The game has just been the ante up. Oh boy,
Hypothetically, if Cassio is there,
for sure,
everyone in your household has slapped the shit out of him except the kids. Could we get all the girls and Cody just one after another, Inoki style?
I'm going to work on that right now. Now that I know Cassio's coming, should we start with Cody or end with Cody? I think end with the stunner from Cody. Cassio, get ready.
Well, I don't know. Listen, I'm not going to tell Cassio that I told you this, but his weak spot is his balls. Hit him right in the balls.
Grundle.
And then the stunner. And then while he's down there, slap him around Travis Scott style. Go get your tickets right now. It's happening this Thursday, October 23rd at Jeff Jarrett's Super Slam. I can't believe it. ProWrestlingTix.com. You got to film this, Jeff. We'll talk about it next week right here on